go over the choice board assignment that you have been working on with Mr. Lopez and to preview the part 2 choice board assignment that you will continue to work on with Mr. Lopez Thursday and Friday. So that's tomorrow and Friday. Now, the part 1 choice board was answering this question: when, if ever, should you challenge authority? Part 2 of the choice board will be answering this question: what is the relationship between violence and liberation? So let's go ahead and look at the choice board. We'll be scrolling down to page 22 in the source pack. So you notice that there's these little page numbers here. If you have altered your source pack, like typed words into it or added anything extra, the page numbers may be different. But the reason why we put the worksheets, the pages where you need to do your work in, we put them at the end so it wouldn't mess up the pages. So this is page 22, and this is what your choice board should look like. Now again, we're only focusing on part 1, and I'm previewing part 2. So part 1 of the choice board analysis, you have an option to make a map. Now this map, you are a Haitian revolutionary and you are deciding places to go around the Western Hemisphere. So that's around the Caribbean, around South America, around Latin America, maybe even North America if you're going to go and tell the American enslaved people to turn up. Now, with that, you have to go look up what revolutions happened after the Haitian Revolution in Latin America, in America. What rebellions were sparked up because people heard about, or enslaved people heard about, what went down in Haiti. So you would go and kind of draw a map around what countries you would go to or what islands you would go to determine what ideas you want to share. And then you would kind of come up with like a speech of sorts about why enslaved people should rebel and take their freedom, take their liberty. Now, what would help you with this is to, one, Google Haitian revolutions that happened after the Haitian Revolution. But two, you might want to look at this timeline and look for when you see the Haitian Revolution taking place and see when others take place, like Mexico, like Simón Bolivar and the Latin American revolutions, and kind of go off of that. Also, you might want to utilize this map right here, Latin American revolutions. You notice Haiti happened in 1804. Then you see Santo Domingo in 1821. You see the United Provinces of Central America, 1823, Mexico, 1821. So you can go ahead and look at research and kind of decide, well, what would the track record be? Where would I go first based on how the order of which this happened in history? That's for the map option. Now, let's go back. Page 22. Now, here is the Start a Revolution speech. This one is the most straightforward. You are writing a speech almost to like a room of people or a crowd of people, trying to motivate them to rebel against whoever the power structure is. Now, in order to get the highest score possible on this to get a 4, you might want to mirror or cite evidence from documents like this: complaints against King Louis. This is reasons why people should rebel. Violence of enslavement. These are reasons why people should rebel. Maybe even referencing some imagery like the people in power are on our backs and they're taking X, Y, and Z from us. Also, you can use images like this one that showed the third, second, and first estate in the French Revolution. All of these are forms of evidence you can use to write your revolutionary speech. Now, the third option is revolutionary street art. Now, revolutionary street art can look like this. It can look like, not this. It can look like this. However, the street art also should include information or like be like an infographic. So this is an example of potentially some street art that could be presented. You want to present some type of information. along with images that compel people to challenge authority and rebel. Now, that's part one. That is due today. You should have been working on it. If this is your first time, don't worry. You can get it done and still submit it, but it is due today, and the grade will be going in by this Friday. Now, part two, this is where we're moving into starting on Thursday and Friday. Part two, you have another set of options. You, again, are only picking one of these three. So first, you could write one putting yourself in the shoes of King Louis at the guillotine when he's about to get his head chopped off. Thinking through the things that he did, maybe mistakes that he made, or maybe even being arrogant about it and saying that he's still right and that he still has the divine right of kings. Again, you might want to reference sources such as the readings on pages 7, 8, and 9 and 10 maybe. That will help you get some information for how to think about putting yourself in the position of King Louis. You want to run through all of the things he did and why it caused violence and why people want to kill him. You could also write a scene from a play. You can write a dialogue. You could write a dialogue really between any revolutionary characters. You could do a dialogue between the king and a peasant, or a king and one of those women who stormed his palace. You could also do a dialogue between Toussaint and Napoleon and kind of have this battle that Toussaint and Napoleon had over liberation. Again, you're writing like a scene from a play, like a dialogue. And then finally, you have the option of writing a letter to a free person of color in another country. So you are imagining yourself to be enslaved, and you are writing to a free person of color to communicate why you want your liberation, or why you are the same, and why they need to fight for you and join your cause. Now, the text that you can use for this, I would recommend being like the Haitian Constitution. This letter to the French Directory, where they're trying to say, hey, these people are trying to bring back slavery and we've already had liberation. You can also use the Declaration of Rights of Man and of Citizen, or the Declaration of Rights of Woman and Female Citizen. These are good examples of compelling ideas about freedom, Enlightenment ideas about freedom that you can incorporate into your letter to get people to join you from outside, free people to join you from outside. So again, with that being said, you are doing your part 1 and part 2 choice board assignment. Part 1 is answering this question: when, if ever, should you challenge authority? So whichever one you choose, if you choose the map, if you choose the speech, if you choose the third one, which right now is slipping my mind, the revolutionary street art, or if you're doing number 2 or part 2, you're thinking about this question: what is the relationship between violence and liberation? If you choose the dialogue, where you write a screenplay, if you choose putting yourself in King Louis' shoes at the guillotine, or if you choose to write a letter to a free person of color to help join your cause, you're thinking about this question: what is the relationship between violence and liberation? You should address that. Same as for part 1. You should address, why should people challenge authority? All right, y'all. Good luck with these choice board projects. Remember, it's on page 22 of your source pack. I'm going to scroll there one more time. And the rubric you are being graded on is the Enduring Issues rubric. You're being graded on analysis and evidence. And Mr. Lopez should have showed you that rubric. If you need it, go ahead and reach out to me. I can send you the link.